The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. That's a hard truth to start with, my friends. You don't win by shouting louder. You win by becoming so steady, so focused, that noise has no handle to grab. Here's the hook. Silence has gravity. When you step back with discipline, everything that fed on your energy starts collapsing inward. Hey folks, imagine this. You're an astronaut, tethered to a noisy space station. Alarms, arguments, constant pull. One quiet move, you unclip the tether, and suddenly you aren't dragged anymore. You drift into calm space. Funny thing? The station starts spinning without you. That's your life when you stop over-explaining and start owning your peace. Or picture a crowded cafe where you're paying everyone's bill. People order like there's no tomorrow. Then you close the tab and walk out. The room doesn't clap. It panics. That's what happens when your attention stops being free refills. We've been sold a lie. If you care, you must chase. If you value someone, you must fight, text, argue, fix. Nope. Caring is not chasing. Value is not begging. Real power is restraint. Marcus said, "You always have the option of having no opinion. Not cruel, not cold, just clear." And Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." As long as you keep explaining your worth, some people never have to learn it. Your silence is the class they skipped and can't avoid any longer. My friends, silence isn't empty. It is negative pressure. Remove your reaction and the truth rushes in. When you stop reacting, you stop renting your nervous system to other people's moods. That's not punishment. That's adulthood. And let me add a little fun here. When you go quiet, the drama group chat suddenly becomes a philosophy club. Why isn't he texting? Did he level up? Is he seeing someone? No, folks. He's seeing himself. He's seeing the gym. He's seeing his goals. He's seeing his peace. That's the glow up. But let's be honest, and a bit hard, we don't stay in the noise because we love it. We stay because we fear being misunderstood. We stay because the old pattern feels safe. We think, if I say one more smart thing, they'll finally get it. They won't. That's the lie. Understanding does not come from your extra paragraph. It comes from their extra effort. When you leave the stage, they either learn the lines or the show ends. Simple. Silence is not you losing. Silence is you choosing. Choosing your sleep. Choosing your training. Choosing your work. Choosing your faith. Choosing a life where your heart rate isn't held hostage by someone else's ping. You don't need to slam doors. You don't need to post cryptic quotes. You just need to stop funding your own exhaustion. Call it no contact. Call it boundaries. I call it sovereignty. Here's another picture. You're a lighthouse, not a lifeguard. The lifeguard jumps in every time and drowns with fools. The lighthouse stands firm, shines steady, and lets people choose the safe path. Be the lighthouse, my friends. Shine, don't chase. He who is brave is free, Seneca said. Brave enough to stay quiet. Brave enough to not send the 10th text. Brave enough to let your life do the explaining. So today, we made a clean promise. No more performative pain. No more begging to be believed. We build, we breathe, we become. Stay with me, because in the next minutes, I'll show you exactly how silence bends outcomes without a single threat or tantrum. If this speaks to you, press like, subscribe, and turn on that little bell. And finish with this in the comments so it sticks in your mind. My silence has gravity. Number 1, event horizon. The moment they feel your silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. That's not passivity, that's precision. It hits hard because it's true. Noise looks strong, but silence holds the steering wheel. Picture this, my friends. You're standing on a pier during a storm, waves crashing, wind howling, voices telling you who to be and how to feel. You can scream back into the gale, or you can step into the lighthouse and close the door. Outside, chaos keeps performing. Inside, the light simply works. That's the shift we're making today, out of the storm, into the structure. And I know what's swirling in their mind and yours. What if silence makes me look cold? What if they think I don't care? What if they replace me? What if I'm the one who looks weak because I didn't fight? Those questions are the ropes tying you to the pier. Let's cut them cleanly. Imagine your attention like a credit card with no limit. For months, maybe years, you've been swiping it on, over-explaining, proving, managing other people's feelings about your worth. Every late-night paragraph, every, let me just clarify, every anxious check-in, another swipe. Then the bill arrives, your energy overdrafted, your sleep wrecked, your focus scattered, your standards blurry. Silence is you calling the bank and freezing the card. Not punishment, protection. But here's why it feels so hard. Your nervous system has been trained to equate noise with control. If you're talking, you think you're steering. If you're reaching, you think you're saving. If you're arguing, you think you're winning. The truth? That's illusion. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Not a slogan, a tool. When you choose no immediate reaction, you choose the path where your action is considered, not coerced. Let's go deeper with a metaphor they won't forget. Think of your life as a high-end restaurant with limited seats. For a long time, you let anyone walk in, rearrange tables, snap at staff, and demand the chef's time for free. You apologized, comped the meals, and told yourself that keeping the peace was good hospitality. But excellence doesn't beg for approval. Excellence sets a reservation list. Silence is the maitre d' who smiles and says, "We're fully booked." Not rude, not angry, just sovereign. And here's the psychological shift. When access is scarce, respect rises. When you stop speaking on command, you stop being treated like a vending machine. People don't respect what's always available. They respect what is consistent and self-possessed. Now let's break the lie that kept you stuck. If I really care, I must fight for them. No, if you really care about your future, fight for your standards. If I go quiet, they'll think I don't love them. No, if you keep performing pain, they'll think they can ignore the cost of your presence forever. If I explain it perfectly, they'll finally get it. My friends, as Epictetus warned, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If they've decided your value is negotiable, your extra paragraph is not a masterclass. It's a coupon, and coupons devalue the product. You might fear the stories they'll tell about your silence. They'll say you're cold. They'll say you changed. They'll say you gave up. Let them narrate. Stoicism isn't about controlling their story. It's about controlling your stance. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Brave enough to stay quiet when your ego wants applause. Brave enough to send no reply when your wounds want attention. Brave enough to let reality teach what your words never could. You're not walking away from responsibility. You're walking toward it, the kind that starts in the mirror. Why is this difficult? Because the body keeps score. Habits are wired for immediate relief. Text back to soothe anxiety. Argue to feel seen. Chase to numb fear. Silence asks you to tolerate discomfort so your life can tolerate excellence. It asks you to endure the itch of not knowing, the ache of not controlling, the hum of unanswered questions. But growth has always lived on the other side of discomfort. The gym hurts. Saving money stings. Saying no shakes your voice the first few times, and then it stabilizes you. In time, your nervous system learns a new equation. Silence equals safety. Boundaries equals respect. Space equals clarity. Here's a little fun image to make it stick. When you go quiet, the drama group chat suddenly becomes a philosophy club. Why aren't they reacting? Did they level up? Are they seeing someone? No, folks, they're seeing themselves. They're seeing the gym. They're seeing their goals. They're seeing their peace. The glow-up isn't a filter. It's a calendar full of discipline. And discipline is magnetic in a way shouting never is. Another picture. You're a pilot flying through turbulence. Panic grabs the controls and jerks the plane up and down. Training holds steady, trusts instruments, and rides the air until it evens out. Silence is you trusting your instruments, your values, your standards, your routine. When turbulence hits, you don't announce a speech to the clouds. You keep the horizon line and breathe. That's not evasion. That's mastery. They might assume silence is a strategy to make them chase. No, that's small. Your silence is not bait. It's a boundary. It's not petty. It's precise. It doesn't aim to hurt. It aims to heal the one place you can actually govern. You. The more you try to manage their perception, the more you abandon your position. And positions win battles, not performances. Detach from the scoreboard they're watching. Build the structure you're living in. So what actually happens the moment your silence arrives? First, the loop breaks. No more instant feedback to soothe or provoke. Second, the mirror appears. No opponent to argue with, only choices to review. Third, the math changes. Loss aversion kicks in. Your absence suddenly costs more than your presence ever did. You didn't twist anything. You simply stopped underwriting a lifestyle where your worth was treated like tap water. And when the tap turns off, people learn two things quickly. The water was valuable, and it was never theirs to waste. Yes, it will feel lonely at first. Every upgrade does. The old room had easy company, your anxiety, your excuses, your people-pleasing. The new room has quiet, focus, and a little echo. Sit in it. Breathe in it. Fill it with training, study, prayer, work, rest. If they ask for explanations you no longer owe, remember, clarity doesn't require permission. You can be kind and still keep the door closed. You can be honest and still keep your energy. You can love people and still choose yourself. And when doubt creeps back, because it will, borrow Marcus again. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Is it right to sell your peace for a moment of being understood by someone who benefits from misunderstanding you? Is it true that you must bleed to prove you're alive? Or is the truth that a steady heart, a guarded mind, and a quiet routine will carry you farther than another round of dramatic explanations ever could? This is your event horizon, the point of no return, not for love, but for self-neglect. Cross it once with courage, and you'll never want to go back to chasing storms on the pier. Let them feel the weather they created. You'll be in the lighthouse doing the work, shining the light, setting the standard. That's not revenge, that's leadership. End this first step with a promise to yourself and a signal to the world around you. You won't be pulled by every tide. You won't be rented by every mood. You won't be translated for those who don't want to listen. You will be precise, present, and peaceful. Drop this in the comments so it anchors. I hold my line. Stay close. Next, we'll unpack how silence creates a vacuum that pulls truth to the surface and forces the changes words never could. Number 2. The vacuum, why silence pulls everything in. Silence is a source of great strength. Hard line, simple truth. When they remove their voice from the chaos, they don't create emptiness, they create negative pressure. And negative pressure pulls everything in. Truth, accountability, consequences. Folks, imagine a room where a loud fan has been running for months. It drowns out the hum of the house, the creak of the floor, the ticking of the clock. Then, with one click, the fan stops. At first, everyone says, "It's so quiet." But a moment later, they hear everything they were missing, the tiny sounds that tell the real story. That's what their silence does. It doesn't erase reality. It lets reality be heard. Here's the fear whispering in their mind. If I stop responding, won't they think they've won? Won't they replace me? What if my silence looks like weakness? My friends, that's the lie noise sells. Noise pretends it's power because it's loud. But ask any pilot, the plane doesn't climb because the passengers shout. It climbs because the instruments are sound. Silence is them flying by instruments. It isn't apathy, it's accuracy. Let's ground this with a metaphor they'll remember. Picture a magnet in a messy drawer. Paper clips, nails, pins, everything clings to it because that's what magnetism does. Their attention works the same way. When they keep reacting, they act like a magnet for drama, pulling in arguments, pulling in projections, pulling in guilt that was never theirs. But when they step back and power down the magnet, the clinging stops. The metal doesn't leap toward them anymore, it just lies where it belongs, and the drawer gets clearer. That's the vacuum at work. Remove the magnetic pull of their attention and the clutter settles, revealing what's actually valuable. Psychologically, we call this feedback deprivation. People chase reactions to confirm control. A text, a sigh, a paragraph, a flare of anger. Each is a receipt that says, "You still orbit me." When they deny that loop, the brain starts asking the questions it was avoiding. Why aren't they reacting? Was I leaning on their patience like it was free? Did I confuse their kindness with endless availability? The vacuum pulls those questions out of hiding. And here's the beautiful, uncomfortable part. The questions don't get instant answers. They hang in the air. They echo. They teach. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That's more than a quote. It's a lever. When they choose not to weigh in on every jab, not to correct every rumor, not to click send on the paragraph that their ego wrote at 2 a.m., they are turning a lever only they can reach. The lever redirects energy from performance to progress. Their run gets longer, their sleep gets deeper, their work gets cleaner, their prayers get quieter and stronger. The vacuum they created outside fills the space inside with signal. But isn't silence manipulative? Another fear asks. Only if the intention is to wound. The Stoic answer is restraint, not revenge. Their silence becomes a boundary that protects the project of themselves. Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." If someone knows their value is replaceable, their extra words are just discounts. The vacuum withdraws the discount and lets the market correct. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. Fun image for the folks who like pictures. When they go quiet, the group chat that used to treat their patients like a bottomless buffet suddenly becomes a math class. What changed? Why doesn't this work anymore? What's the cost of losing access? The room starts calculating because the free refills ended. Scarcity raises value, not because they're playing games, but because they finally stopped letting others play with them. Why is this still hard? Because the body wants the drug of immediate relief. React and the anxiety dips for 5 minutes. Explain and the heart rate settles for 10. But then the cycle resets, louder. Silence is a different medicine. It tastes like discipline. It heals slowly and permanently. At first, their hands itch to type. Their chest tightens with the urge to correct the story. Breathe. The vacuum is doing something words never could. It's separating signal from noise, substance from spin. It's showing them who steps forward with effort and who disappears with inconvenience. Another metaphor, my friends. Think of a snow globe that's been shaken for months. Flakes whirl, glitter blinds, shapes blur. The only way to see the little house inside is to set the globe down and wait. Their silence is the setting down. The flakes of accusation, projection, and guilt have to fall. When they do, the house appears. Boundaries, standards, non-negotiables. That little house is home. It was there all along. It just needed stillness. They might wonder, What if the vacuum pulls them away instead of pulling the truth out? Good. The vacuum is also a filter. What falls out wasn't anchored. What remains was meant to. Silence isn't a trap. It's an audit. It shows who will meet them at the level of effort they give themselves. And if someone leaves because the free reaction stopped, that's not loss, that's data. Now a touch of steel from Seneca. He who is brave is free. Bravery here is not a fireworks show. It's the quiet courage to let a day pass without answering bait. It's allowing the discomfort that builds capacity. It's saying, I'll be measured by my routine, not by your interruptions. That's the kind of freedom that grows roots. The result? The vacuum they created becomes a workshop. It fills with habits that thicken their gravity, lifting when they said they would, drinking water instead of chasing closure, reading pages instead of rereading threads, praying in the morning instead of praying they'll change at midnight. Their calendar becomes evidence, their face gets quiet, their standards get simple, no speech is needed, the room can feel the pressure shift. So here's the promise, folks. Keep the vacuum. Don't break it with a performance. Don't stuff it with excuses. Let it draw out the truth and compress your focus. The people who want your presence will bring presence. The people who wanted your reactions will go find a new stage. Both answers are a gift. And when the itch to speak returns, and it will, ask the only question that matters. Is this aligned with who I'm becoming, or is this rent I'm paying to live in who I used to be? Close this section by anchoring your stance with 4 words in the comments. I keep the vacuum. Show them you mean it. Show yourself you mean it. Let the world see the difference between noise and gravity. The next move we make will show how loss aversion kicks in when your absence raises the price of access, and why regret begins the moment the math changes. Number 3. Loss aversion, when their absence costs more than their presence. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. Epictetus. Hard truth, my friends. What hurts them most is not the event. It's the invoice their mind writes after the event. Loss aversion is that invoice. People fear losing more than they love gaining. While they were there, steady, reliable, present, the world treated their presence like tap water, free, endless, uncounted. Then they close the valve. Suddenly, every drop has a price. That's when the math starts screaming louder than any speech ever could. Folks, imagine a city where public transport used to be free. People hop on and off, feet on the seats, no gratitude, no thought. One day, a fare gate appeared. It's not a punishment, it's a price. The very same ride now has value because there's a cost to access. Their life is that transit system. Their attention, their patience, their effort, it all had a cost they refused to charge. Loss aversion begins the day they finally install the gate. Here's the fear that keeps them from doing it. If I charge a price, no one will pay. That's noise. The truth is, the right people are relieved when there's structure. Standards filter pretenders and call the serious forward. My friends, when they kept their attention limitless, they taught others to budget it as 0. When they limit it with boundaries, they teach others to budget it as rare. Scarcity doesn't make them arrogant. It makes them honest about the true weight of what they bring. Let's push the metaphor deeper. Think of a gym membership that auto-renewed for everyone in their life. Nobody had to show up. Nobody had to sweat. Yet they, kind-hearted, hopeful, kept the doors open 24/7, lights on, towels fresh. Then one day, they canceled the free universal plan. Now, to use the space, people must swipe their own card and do their own reps. That's loss aversion kicking in. The ones who only loved access vanish. The ones who love results step up. What if they think I'm petty for raising the price? They ask. Petty is playing games. The principle is charging what something is worth. Marcus Aurelius offers the compass. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Is it right to keep funding disrespect? Is it true that their presence is cheap? If not, then pricing it properly is an act of truth. Folks, you can be generous and still have a door. You can be kind and still have a key. Here's a fun, slightly sharp image to make it stick. For a long time, their life was like an all-you-can-eat buffet where the guests kept pocketing silverware. When the bill finally lands, the same people who said, "It's just a fork," now face a total that stings. That sting is loss aversion. It's the moment reality says, you are eating value you didn't acknowledge. They don't have to point it out. The price speaks. Why is this shift so difficult? Because their nervous system was trained on the sugar rush of approval. Give more, be praised. Explain more, be patted on the head. Chase more, be called loyal. But sugar burns fast and leaves them empty. Boundaries, on the other hand, are protein, less thrilling, more sustaining. The first week of clean eating always feels worse than the week of candy. Then the body adapts. The same will happen here. The first no trembles. The second no steadies. The third no is just how they live now. Let's crack a lie that slips in wearing wisdom's clothes. If I become scarce, I'll look like I'm playing hard to get. No, they're not staging scarcity. They're embodying dignity. Manufactured scarcity is performance. Principled scarcity is policy. One manipulates, the other protects. Remember, folks, loss aversion cuts both ways. If they keep making themselves cheap, they will eventually fear losing the very self-respect they traded for attention. Better to lose the wrong audience than to lose the right self. Another image. Picture a thermostat in a house that's been set to everyone's comfort but mine. Too hot, they turn it up. Too cold, they turn it down. Always adjusting, always pleasing. Then one day they put a code lock on the thermostat and set it to steady. At first there's noise, complaints, drama, but the house stabilizes. The ones who only loved the thrill of controlling the temperature drift off. The ones who love living in a healthy home stay, bring blankets, and contribute. Loss aversion taught everyone a lesson. Comfort is shared, not stolen. Psychologically, here's what's happening around them. When their presence is constant, the brain treats it as baseline. Any small extra is a gain, and gains are quickly forgotten. When they pull back, the baseline drops, and now even the absence of their late-night text or steady reassurance feels like a loss. Losses loom larger than gains, by design. They didn't rewire anyone's brain. They simply removed the subsidy that masked the true cost of taking them for granted. But what if the price makes them leave? Good. Prices reveal priorities. If the price of access is respect, presence, effort, and consistency, and someone leaves, then they aren't paying in the currency that sustains a real bond. That's data, not disaster. Better a short truth than a long lie. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery here is letting the door be a door, not a revolving stage prop. My friends' loss aversion will also show up inside them. They'll fear losing the fantasy more than they'll love gaining their freedom. They'll miss what could have been more than they'll honor what must be. That's okay. Name it. Feel it. Then choose anyway. The pain of pricing yourself properly is temporary. The dignity it builds lasts. And let me give you one last metaphor to lock this in. Picture a well in a village. For years, anyone could take water with no thought to the level. People wasted, spilled, and walked off whistling. Then a drought arrives. Suddenly the village posts a sign, "Water is precious." Draw with care, the well isn't less kind. The well is more honest. Their heart is that well. Their silence is the sign. And the community they're building around that well, It's the kind that lasts through every season. Close this section by anchoring your stance, folks. They are not becoming cruel. They are becoming clear. They are not denying love. They are denying exploitation. They are not inflating their price. They are reflecting their worth. Drop this in the comments to set your standard and to show the world and yourself what game you're playing now. My absence has price. Number 4. The mirror. Absence forces self-confrontation. Truth needs no defense, only space. Hard line to open with, my friends. When they step back, they don't abandon the story. They remove the soundtrack that kept everyone from hearing it. Silence doesn't erase, it reveals. And what it reveals first is a mirror. No opponent to argue with, no scapegoat to point at, no fresh drama to hide behind. Just choices, consequences, and the quiet weight of what has been neglected. Picture this. A stage where the lights have been blinding for months. Actors ad-lib, the crowd roars, nobody follows the script. Then the lights dim and the noise cuts. Suddenly, every scuff mark on the floor, every torn prop, every missed cue is obvious. That's what their absence does. It dimmers the frenzy so the damage can finally be seen. Or imagine a hallway lined with funhouse mirrors, warped reflections that make the tall look tiny and the crooked look straight. Words can be those mirrors, distortions that stretch excuses and shrink responsibility. Silence removes the carnival. Only the clear pain remains. Here's the fear that rattles in their chest. If I'm not there to correct the story, won't the lies win? Folks, that's the trap. Lies don't win. They linger until reality dissolves them. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, do not do it." Their job is not to police every rumor. Their job is to live so simply and steadily that rumors run out of breath. A mirror doesn't shout back. It just reflects. That's the quiet punishment of truth. No performance, only evidence. Let's break the biggest lie. If I keep explaining, they'll finally understand. No. As Epictetus warned, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. When someone believes they've nailed your value to the wall, your extra paragraph becomes another nail. Explanation is generous with the teachable and gasoline for the stubborn. The absence, though, that's different. It hands them a notebook with no answers in the back. Now the questions echo. Why doesn't this work anymore? What am I actually bringing? Did I confuse their kindness with infinite permission? The mirror asks, and without your presence to distract, it demands. My friends, this is why it's hard. The body craves the quick fix of rebuttals. Firing off a response lowers the anxiety for 10 minutes. But the mirror is slow medicine. It's the gym for the conscience. It forces them, and you, to review the tape, not just replay the thrill. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery here is refusing to fill the silence with a speech, refusing to rescue someone from the curriculum their actions assigned them. Freedom is letting the test be taken without you whispering the answers. A picture to keep this vivid. Think of a messy desk you keep shoving papers across. So long as you're shuffling, it looks like work. Stop moving, and there it is, the invoice you've been hiding under the stack. Silence is the pause that reveals the bill. The ledger reads loud, withdrawals of patience, overdrafts of respect, bounced checks of effort. No argument can balance it. Only change can. But what if the mirror turns on me? Good. That's the real win. Absence doesn't just expose others, it invites them to self-audit. Where did they overgive to be liked? Where did they ignore red flags to stay comfortable? Where did they talk about standards instead of living them? This isn't a witch hunt, it's a workshop. The mirror isn't a courtroom, it's a classroom. In that class, grades are private, but progress is public. The face gets calmer. The calendar gets cleaner. The boundaries get simpler. There's humor here too, folks, because life loves irony. When they stop sending essays, the same crowd that called them clingy starts calling them mysterious. When they stop explaining, the same people who rolled their eyes start investigating. That's not magic, that's mechanics. Noise gives people a place to dump accountability. Silence gives it a place to land. Why do people avoid mirrors? Because mirrors remove the choreography. No flattering angles, no background music, no algorithm to boost the best 5 seconds. Just reality. And yet reality is the only thing that heals. When the mirror stays put, the shallow exit. The series stays. The unserious demands closure. The serious starts closing tabs, distractions, excuses, cheap attention, and opens work, apologies, amends, effort, consistency. Let's add a tougher image, a black box flight recorder after turbulence. You don't get better by debating the wind. You learn by listening to the tape, where the pilot panicked, where the instruments were ignored, where the procedure saved lives. Their absence is that recorder. While others craft a narrative for social consumption, the black box plays the unedited truth. The person who can sit with that playback? That's someone who can fly with them in the future. The rest simply wanted free tickets and a view. Here's the pivot they must make, from defense attorney to architect. Defense tries to win arguments. Architecture tries to make collapse impossible next time. Defense is reactive. Architecture is preventive. The mirror marks the load-bearing walls, sleep, training, reading, purpose, faith, and shows which doors must now lock. Gossip, bait, chaos, loopholes. They aren't punishing anyone, they're making the structure safe. And if someone insists on smashing the glass, mocking the silence, baiting the reply, demanding the old access, remember the line. Truth needs no defense, only space. Space to let the snow globe's glitter fall. Space to let the well refill. Space to make a new baseline that doesn't shake every time a notification blinks. They are not withholding. They are stewarding. They are not superior. They are serious. So here's the assignment, my friends. Hold the mirror in place. Don't decorate it with quotes to look smart. Don't tilt it for flattering angles. Let it be honest. If it reflects your part, own it and adjust. If it reflects their part, release it and allow. Either way, growth gets the final word. The ones who are meant to continue will show up not with speeches, but with standards. The ones who were only there for the noise will leave when the music stops. That's not tragedy, that's sorting. Finish this section by anchoring the posture in 4 words. Show them, show yourself, and show the world what season you're in. I face the mirror. Stay with me. Next, we'll watch how comparison turns vague nostalgia into measurable regret, and why realities side by side always settles the argument without a single text. Number 5. Contrast effect. Comparison turns regret into reality. Things are judged by comparison. Simple, sharp, unavoidable. My friends, regret rarely arrives as a lightning strike. It creeps in as a side-by-side. When they step back, life starts running A/B tests without a pole. Version A was their steadiness, their presence, their follow-through. Version B is whatever comes next. Flashier maybe, noisier for sure, but thin on substance. The mind doesn't need a speech to see the difference. It needs a contrast, and contrast is ruthless. Imagine a photo app, folks. 2 pictures of the same room, one with warm natural light, one with a harsh neon filter. Put them alone and each can pass. Put them side by side and the truth leaps off the screen. That's the contrast effect. While they were there, their calm looked invisible because it was the baseline. Remove it and the baseline drops. Now, every flake of inconsistency, every little broken promise, every "I'll try" that turns into "I forgot" stands out like neon. No lecture required. Reality does the editing. Here's the fear whispering in their head. What if the next person is better? What if my absence makes me forgettable? That fear is noise. The truth is math. Marcus Aurelius said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Consistency is right. Honesty is true. When people sample novelty, the first taste is sugar, bright, exciting, quick. Then they try to live on it. By week 3, they're hungry. The contrast effect turns exciting into exhausting and reliable into rare. They don't have to advertise. The palate learns. Let's get playful and precise. Picture a fireworks show versus a lighthouse. Fireworks steal the sky for 7 minutes and disappear into smoke. A lighthouse is quiet, repetitive, steady, boring until the storm hits. When the water rises and the wind screams, nobody looks for fireworks. They look for the light. Contrast teaches value under pressure. Their steadiness was the thing. The noise was the distraction. Absent the steady, the storm exposes the truth. Psychologically, here's what's happening. The brain encodes normal and discounts it. That's why their peace felt ordinary to those who consumed it daily. Once removed, the next normal gets recalibrated down. Now small kindnesses, simple honesty, and basic reliability feel rare. This is why the texts start later. You always. I didn't realize. I miss. That's not romance. That's regression to the mean finally showing its bill. The contrast effect transforms vague nostalgia into measurable loss. But what if they double down on denial? My friends ask. They might, at first. People protect egos with noise. It's better now. You were too much. I needed change. Let them have their press release. Contrast is patient. It waits through the weekend. It shows up at the first real conflict, the first sick day, the first missed call when it mattered. The new highlight reel skips those scenes. Reality doesn't. That's when the mind starts tabulating. Who shows up, who follows through, who can be asked twice because the first answer was already a promise. The ledger gets loud. Another metaphor to anchor this. Think of a sound engineer mixing a track. Solo the synth and it sounds huge. Bring in the drums, bass, vocal, and suddenly the synth is thin. It was big only because it was alone. Life is a full mix. In isolation, performances look impressive. In the mix of bills, boundaries, bad days, and big decisions, only character sits right. When they exit, the new synth gets solo time until the rest of life enters the session. Then contrast levels it. Substance stays, fluff gets turned down. Here's a gentle punch of truth. They weren't appreciated not because they lacked value, but because their value had no competitor on the screen. Comparison requires a second frame. Their absence provides it. Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Apply it. Their wants are fewer now. Respect, consistency, peace. Because they're not grabbing attention, their presence becomes wealth. The scarcity of drama makes the richness of calm obvious, especially to those who spent calm like pocket change. Why is this hard for them? Because they can't watch the contrast movie from the front row. They have to trust the process from backstage. That's uncomfortable. The ego wants to peak, to post, to accidentally be seen leveling up. Resist. The minute they perform, they contaminate the experiment. Real contrast needs clean conditions, no cryptic quotes, no subtweet energy, no highlight reel hunger, just life done well, repeatedly. Seneca's steel. He who is brave is free. Bravery here is letting the evidence speak without signing your name under it. Let's add a shop floor metaphor, folks. Imagine two tools. A shiny, lightweight wrench that looks great on the wall, and a heavier, well-balanced wrench that never slips. Under showroom lights, the shiny one wins. On a stubborn bolt at 2 a.m., the balanced one does. After a few stripped bolts and bruised knuckles, mechanics stop reaching for sparkle. They reach for what works. That's the contrast effect training the hand. People get tired of decorative tools. They come back to dependable ones, quietly, usually after insisting they never would. And if you need a little humor to keep the heart light, contrast even exposes the silly stuff. Suddenly, the playlist you curated was underrated. Your silence was mysterious. Your early bedtime became disciplined. The same habits that were mocked get rebranded as attractive once they're gone. Don't gloat. Smile, nod, keep moving. The point of contrast isn't to prove them wrong, it's to prove you right, to yourself. So what should they do with this knowledge? Nothing performative. Build a life that's easy to compare in your favor because it's hard to fake. A body trained more days than not. A calendar that tells the truth, a bank account with a plan, a faith or philosophy that grounds decisions, friendships that don't require damage to feel alive. These are contrast multipliers. They make every substitute look what it is, temporary. And here's the final pivot. Contrast doesn't just work outward, it works inward. Put the old ones next to the new ones. Place the anxious chaser next to the centered chooser. Put the reactive hour next to the trained hour. Let the comparison motivate, not punish. The only flex worth keeping is calm progress. Their best argument is a day well lived. Anchor this chapter with 4 words in the comments so it sticks in your mind and signals your lane to the world. Reality makes comparisons. Stay with me. Next, we'll dismantle a common myth that no contact is a petty game. We'll show why disciplined distance isn't punishment, it's sovereignty. Number 6, no contact is sovereignty, not punishment. No man is free who is not a master of himself. Epictetus. Hard line to open, my friends. No contact isn't a cold shoulder. It's a warm spine. It's not about starving anyone. It's about feeding the parts of yourself that keep you alive. Your focus, your sleep, your standards, your mission. Folks, think of it like this. You're not slamming a door. You're installing a firewall. A firewall doesn't hate the internet. It protects the system so the real work can run. That's no contact. Not petty, precise, not vengeful, responsible. Here's where people get twisted. They say, if you really care, you'll stay in the conversation. But endless conversation is where truth goes to drown. Marcus Aurelius gives us the compass. You always own the option of having no opinion. Owning that option is how they stop being remote-controlled by pings, moods, and bait. When they choose silence, they're not playing a game. They're refusing to be played. Imagine a greenhouse, folks. Young plants can't thrive in a hailstorm, no matter how much they love the rain. The greenhouse isn't a punishment for the weather, it's a shelter for growth. No contact is their greenhouse season. Inside, routines take root. Training more days than not, reading pages instead of rereading arguments, drinking water instead of chasing closure, praying at dawn instead of negotiating at midnight. Outside, the weather can be whatever it wants. Inside, they become who they said they'd be. But won't they think I'm manipulating them? That fear is loud. Let's break it. Manipulation seeks to bend another person. Discipline seeks to build oneself. If the intention is sovereignty, not spectacle, it's not manipulation, it's maturity. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Bravery here isn't sending the final word. It's refusing to need the final word. It's letting silence protect the project of you. Let's get practical and a little playful. Picture their phone as a bank vault. Every reply is a withdrawal. For months, maybe years, the vault door has been propped open. Anyone with a mood could walk in and take a stack of attention. No contact is the new policy. The door closes, the ledger appears, the security cameras turn on. Now every transaction needs purpose. Is this message building me or billing me? Becomes the rule. Most dramas can't afford the fee. Another metaphor, a pilot in turbulence. Panic grabs the mic and promises it can calm the clouds. Training says nothing to the clouds. Training trusts the instruments. No contact is instrument flight rules for the heart. Their instruments are simple: values, standards, routines. Turbulence doesn't get a speech, it gets a steady hand. Here's a lie that keeps many trapped. Silence makes me look weak. No, silence makes them look steady. Weakness is reacting to every tug. Strength is choosing when, where, and whether to engage. Folks, think of a thermostat placed in a room full of people who love to argue. Everyone keeps spinning the dial to fit their comfort. No contact puts a lock on the dial and sets the temperature to clarity, loud at first, peaceful after. The ones who only loved control leave. The ones who love a healthy climate stay and bring blankets. Psychologically, why does this work? Because access feels like ownership to people who don't manage themselves. The second access changes. The truth walks in. I never owned this person. I only borrowed them. That realization is the beginning of respect, or the beginning of their exit. Either way, data. And remember Epictetus again. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If someone knows your value is replaceable, your paragraph becomes a coupon. No contact removes the coupon. Market's correct. But what if they smear me for going silent? Let them narrate. You're not in public relations, you're in personal reconstruction. A builder doesn't stop pouring concrete to argue with birds. Marcus again, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Right now, the right thing is becoming strong, not sounding right. You'll be amazed at how many stories collapse when there's nothing to push against. Noise fatigues itself. Your results won't. Let's talk about withdrawals and deposits, folks. In no contact, their calendar becomes a bank statement of who they truly are. Morning light, clean workouts, deep work blocks, honest meals, early sleep, quiet prayer. These are deposits. Doom scrolling their name, rehearsing fake conversations, crafting speeches for someone who isn't listening. Those are overdrafts. They don't need to be perfect. They need to be consistent. Consistency compounds. Consistency becomes gravity. A fun image to make it stick. When they go no contact, the group chat that used to treat their patients like an all-you-can-eat buffet turns into a math class. What changed? Why doesn't this work anymore? What's the cost of losing access? Scarcity makes value legible. And here's the secret. No contact isn't about creating scarcity for others. It's about creating consistency for themselves. Why is it still so hard on some nights? Because there's a withdrawal from the drug of drama. Drama gives fast dopamine. Discipline gives slow dignity. The tremors fade. The clarity grows. One quiet week becomes two. One clean month becomes a baseline. Then their face softens, their jaw unclenches, their eyes steady. People say, "You look different." They do. Peace leaves fingerprints. So, my friends, write this on your inner wall. No contact is not revenge. It's rehab. It's healing the impulse to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. It's protecting your future from the leak of constant explanation. It's choosing to be a lighthouse instead of a lifeguard, steady light over frantic rescue. Those who can navigate by your light will prove it with quiet steps. Those who prefer the chaos will drift toward another storm. Your job isn't to chase boats. Your job is to stand and shine. If this section grounded you, do 3 things right now. Press like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs a firewall more than a fight. And lock your stance in the comments with 4 words. Show them, show yourself, show the world. No contact is sovereignty. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we'll build mass in private, the kind of quiet momentum that bends orbits without ever asking permission.